Welcome back to Reads and Threads. My name's Kate. Hello if you're new here, welcome back if you're joining us again. Today we're going to be going through my February wrap up. So we'll start off with the stats. So I am going to refer to some stuff that I've written down just because it's easier to remember that way, and my phone is the camera, so I can't refer to it on there. This month wasn't as good a month as last month. I have read in total 6 books, though of those 6 I did DNF 2. So really I only fully completed 4. However, I have included the pages that I read from both of those books within my stats. So I'm still going to count that because it is pages that I read this month, and I just want to see that probably, as well as how many I actually managed to get through. So of all the books, I read a total of 2,738 pages, which averages out to 88.32 pages per day. So as you can see, if you have watched my January wrap up, not as good, but I'm still pretty happy with what I managed to get through. Of those 6 books, I did only star rate the 4 that I finished. I'm not ever going to rate anything that I DNF just because I haven't fully finished the book. I could, I guess, give it like a 1 star or something, but I also don't see the point because I didn't finish it. Of the 4 that I read, I gave 1 3 stars, 1 4 stars, and 2 4.5 stars. Publication breakdown: of the 6 that I read, 1 was published last year, and then the other 5 were published before that, so backlist titles. The formats that I read them in, I had 1 physical, 1 audio, 2 ebooks, and 2 mixed media. So the 2 mixed media I read them on audio and ebook. It was just a way that I could read them quicker. So I did quite enjoy that. I wasn't doing that at the same time. I moved from one to the other. Series wise, 4 were continuing the series that they were a part of, and 2 were standalones. Age demographic, I had 5 young adult this month and only the 1 adult. Though some of them I find it hard to see how they're young adult, but it is what it is. I acquired the books. So technically I own a lot of these, but the one way that I was reading them, I got 1 by Apple Books, 3 on Audible, and then 2 from the library. The genres I read this month, I had 4 fantasy, 1 mystery, and 1 general/literature one, but I'm just going to refer to it as general because that's how we do it at work. So I started off February reading 2 books from the beginning of the month that I pretty much started both of them, I think, on the 1st of February. That was Fire Study by Marie V. Schneider and Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. So I'm going to talk about Fire Study first. So this is the 3rd book in the Poison Studies series. I had been a little apprehensive going into this one. I had really enjoyed book 1, not so much book 2, and I had heard that book 3 wasn't as good, but I still wanted to give it a go. I wanted to continue with the series. I own all these physically, but I did read this one on an ebook, and I don't know that was necessarily the best choice. The ebook I had bought on Apple Books, and the spacing was just really bad. I don't know what it was about it, but it was cutting up the paragraphs in an odd spot. So I don't know that overly helped. It might have been better if I was just reading it properly. This copy, I'm not sure, but I did find that it felt like she had forgotten how to write. Like I was getting explained everything like it was reading it off a list. It was all like dot points with a heap of unnecessary explanation. It just didn't make any sense, and it really dragged you out of the story. It was like a completely different author was writing these, and I don't know what happened. So I only managed to get 73 pages into this book before I just gave up. I couldn't do it anymore. It got to the point where I've actually decided that I, one, wasn't going to continue, and two, I'm going to unhaul the entire series. So I did already own all of them physically. I love the covers. They looked awesome on my shelf, but they're just not it. So it turns out my sister wants them. She can have them. But I was really hoping that it was not going to be as bad as other people had led me to believe. And I hope that that wasn't what stopped it for me. I did really try and give it a go, to the point where I was actually getting really annoyed with it 2 days before I actually properly stopped reading it. I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and started another book that I'll talk about in a little while I was still reading this one at the same time, because it was just, I had no interest in picking it up. The story wasn't really going anywhere. It just, yeah, not for me anyway. Hopefully there is someone out there that really does enjoy this series. I know my sister is one of them. Yeah, not for me. The other book that I started at the beginning of February was Queen of Shadows, which is the 4th book in Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series. This one, I guess from time of filming, it has been a little while since I did read it. And I have just yesterday finished this series. But in saying that, one, I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I'm not going to tell you much about the book anyway. But I don't know that I could tell you all that much about the book anymore. It was good. I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy reading it. It just hasn't left a huge impression. So it was a good book. It was easy to read. I listened to this one by Audible, and I had a good time while I was reading it, but mostly I can't tell you anything about it, other than I did really enjoy the series. So yeah, Queen of Shadows, 4 stars, but that's about it. The next book I read was Thicker Than Water by Bridget Kemmerer. Now this book I picked up for the Buzzword Challenge because we had to read in February a book that had a water word in the title, and water is actually in this title. So I have read Bridget Kemmerer before. I have read a lot of her fantasy and really enjoyed them. In this one, we're following Thomas. Now, he has only recently moved to town after his mother marries a police officer. He's not overly impressed with having to move, but is also a teenager, neither here nor there. His mother is, though, then murdered, and he is accused of murdering her. So the story is about him dealing, one, with his mother's death, and then the fact that he's accused of murdering her because he is the only one in the house at the time when she gets murdered, but he thinks he was sleeping the whole time and didn't hear anything. So it's very suspect. He obviously doesn't think that he did it, has no explanation as to why he didn't hear anything. And he also then meets Charlotte, who is the sister of a family of cops in the town that they're living in as well. And she is just drawn to him. She doesn't know why. Even though she knows what he's been accused of, she can't seem to keep away from him. She has had another friend who was murdered in a similar way, so thinks that they might be related, although their police have ruled that out. And so it just goes through them trying to figure out what happened. I can't say I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. It is well written. I did like that. I do think Bridget Kemmerer is a good writer. Like, I love her stuff. It's easy to read. I just don't know that her non-fantasy books are gonna be for me. I've never really been a huge mystery, crime, that kind of reader. Yeah, I am trying to get more into crime. I love watching crime TV shows and that kind of stuff, but I don't know, there was just something about this one that didn't hit for me. I do have one of her other non-fantasy books around, so I will at some point give that a go. It's in my physical TBR. It was given to me by a friend, so I will give that a try. It is on my want to read list, but mainly I think for her I am going to be more on board with her fantasy stuff, I think. The next book I picked up was Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. Now, I have heard a lot about Leanne Moriarty. She's extremely popular, but I have never actually tried one of her books before. And this book was part of my book club in real life, the Book Hose. One of my friends picked this one up. One, because she wanted to try Leanne Moriarty and see what all the fuss was about. We have the meeting for this book coming up this Thursday. So when this video is going live, I will be out to dinner talking about this book. I didn't like it. I actually DNF'd this book at 139 pages in, so I think I gave it a good go. I was worried about it to begin with. I really don't overly like general much. It has to be really good and really suck me in. And this one, if you don't know what it's about, it is about a group of people that get on a plane from Hobart to Sydney, and on the plane, one of the passengers predicts, one, when they're going to die, and two, how they're going to die. So she goes around and she tells everyone their date and cause of death, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of them shrug it off, but others are kind of nervous about it, especially considering some of the ways that she said that some of these people are going to die. So it's not the best flight. It's already been delayed like 2 or 3 hours at Hobart before it even takes off. So everyone's really annoyed, grumpy, they've missed connections, missed what they're going for. And you end up with these really little chapters every now and then, which you don't know who they're from. And it turns out they're from the point of view of the lady that's eventually going to give the predictions. And the predictions don't even happen until like 100 pages in maybe. But you have all of these little side characters that are tiny little bits of backstory to this woman, and they just meant nothing. I just didn't understand why we were having those at all. They made no sense. So there was lots of little backstories on a couple of the other passengers as well that just were completely irrelevant. They made no sense whatsoever in the whole storyline as far as I could tell. I didn't care enough, I don't think, to find out. I do know from the synopsis on the back that the predictions do start coming true. And so then I guess the passengers start to freak out more as they realize that she's accurate. The woman who's giving the predictions doesn't remember anything about what happened on that flight. So there's that, and I don't know if that is talked about later on or not. Like I said, didn't finish the book. It hasn't made me want to pick up of Leanne Moriarty's other books. I haven't even watched any of the TV shows that have actually come out from her books either. They've never really appealed to me. So I don't know that she was ever really going to be an author for me. I tried to go into it with an open mind. I don't know how well I succeeded in that. I was very apprehensive from the beginning. But I did give it a go, and I do try and give all the book group books for my book club a go. This one didn't hit for me at all, so I don't think I will ever pick up another Leanne Moriarty unless someone puts another one in book club, I guess. But that would probably be the only reason I would. Yeah, the last 2 books I did read was a tandem read. So technically, I finished these on the 2nd of March, but I read the majority of both of them through February. So I am counting them in February, and just to keep it more simple with my stats and all that kind of stuff. But they are Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. So I did the tandem read for these 2, which I did really enjoy doing. The only problem I found with that was that because I was listening to them to begin with on audio, I had to keep checking what chapters I needed to jump backwards and forwards on. And even when I, by the end, moved to my ebook versions, again, same thing. I had to make sure I wasn't reading too much before I needed to jump to the other one. So I think if I had actually read these physically, like tabbed these up the way I had originally seen someone doing the first time I found out that there was a tandem read for this, I think that would have been better, because I really do feel like I was dragged out of the story a bit. But in saying that, they were both really interesting. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers again, because these are the second to last and third to last book in the series. They were really engaging. I loved that you could do that, jump backwards and forwards, and it was all set in the same timeline. I don't know that I would have enjoyed reading them individually, so one after the other where they're set in the same time. I did like having the stories kind of intermingled, knowing that it was all happening together. So if I had read these when they first came out, I think I would have found that really frustrating, having to wait that long and then not getting really any further in the story than catching up with each other. But as a treat of doing that together, I think that's great. I don't know if she's purposely written them so you can do that, or if someone just happened to figure it out, but it was a lot of fun. I don't know that I ever will reread this series. I did enjoy it. I gave both of these 4.5 stars. They really sucked me in, and I really loved the novelty of it, I guess. They progressed the storyline. They were interesting. You met some new characters, found out more about the world and what was going on, more of the backstory. So there was a lot of information in these books that was really helpful in the overall plot, and overall were a great read. Her ability to create interesting characters and an interesting world is great. She can do it. She is a good author. I find the main character slightly annoying, though again not as annoying as a lot of her other main characters in her other series. And this was the last series of hers that I hadn't read, so I am now at the time of filming completely up to date with all of Sarah J Maas's books, so I'm really happy about that. So I can kind of follow along with all the hype of a new one when it comes out, which will be interesting. And to see now how she plans on integrating all her series together, because I think that is what is going to happen. She is writing, I think, another ACOTAR book that will then join them all together a bit more somehow. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked into it. But yeah, overall, great reads, really enjoyed them, loved the tandem read, and think that they were really engaging and entertaining. Cross-stitch wise, this month I didn't actually get a whole heap done. So I am still working on the little symbols for my TBR game, which I showed you last month. So just doing up the others of those that I need, and they will appear obviously in future videos because they are going to become part of my TBR game. Other than that, I think I just worked on a few of them and have mainly not been doing much of it at the moment. I have in March, so you will see some more cross stitch coming up in March, along with some videos in the future, definitely, that are more predominantly cross stitching as well as books. So yeah, unfortunately there's not a huge amount cross stitch wise to show you, but definitely some coming soon. Although I didn't get to as many books as I did in January, I'm still really happy with what I did manage to read. I had a great time with the 4 that I did finish, and I'm finding it just really fun doing like Buzzwordathon and having that kind of challenge and reading things that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up otherwise. So like the book for that for March is a book that wasn't on my TBR at all, but hopefully will be good. So those kind of things I've been finding really interesting. And then finishing series that I've had on my shelves for forever, and I think that's just been really great. I'd wanted to pick up Throne of Glass for a long time, just never had got around to it, and then actually reading it along with my sister has been really good as well, although she did fly ahead of me. I'll forgive her for that. But when I do get to see her, actually talking to her about the series now is going to be lots of fun. So if you've read any of the books that I did talk about this month, I'd love to hear your thoughts about them in the comments. Did you actually like the 2 that I DNF'd? And why? Because a lot of people do seem to like Here One Moment, whereas, like I said, not for me. But I'd love to hear what you did like about it. If you did like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see what else I've got coming in the future, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you as part of my community here. And I hope that wherever you are having a really wonderful day. And see you next time. Bye.